very racially diverse neighborhood in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, by an atheist group that claims that the purpose of this is to show how evil the Bible is. Joe Watkins is not only a former aide to President Bush, but he's also pastor of the Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church in Philadelphia. Joe, good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you always, Chris.
Now, we should say the Billboard was torn down after one day, and now the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission is investigating. One of the quotes was, if this had been Detroit, there would have been a riot. What's your reaction when you see this?
Well, of course, it's very hurtful, very, very mean-spirited. It shows that the atheists don't understand the Bible. This was written by the Apostle Paul while he was in prison in AD 62. And, of course, we all know that the institution of slavery predated U.S. slavery. As far back as 1762 B.C., it was already an established institution. And the Colossians text that they're talking about was meant to tell people to put on the whole armor, to put on the armor of Christ, to put on love and forgiveness and all those things that are associated with Christ. And it's so hurtful for them to use that verse in such a hurtful way.
They say they want to draw attention to the state designation of 2012 as the year of the Bible. And the man behind the billboard tells us, and I'm quoting here, being a former ordained minister, it was verses like Colossians 3:22 that drove me to atheism. How could such a loving God command slaves to obey their masters? And they see this as an expression of free speech, is it?
Well, of course, they have the right to say what they believe. In this particular case, it's very hurtful and very offensive to lots of people living in the 21st century, seeing that and hearing that slant on the Bible. The Bible, of course, is a two-edged sword, but the verse that was written by Paul was meant to draw people to a higher good, to understand who Christ is, and to set their minds and hearts on things above, not on things here on earth. And he wrote it while he himself was almost a slave. He was a prisoner, in prison, unjustly imprisoned, by the way. And he wrote it saying, you know what, I'm obeying my captors right now, the people who are imprisoning me. I want you as Christian people to have that kind of mind, that kind of heart. It's unfortunate that anybody would take this verse out of context and then use it to hurt people, especially people of color.
You know, Joe, I want to ask you the same question, and obviously this is contextually very, but I do think it is part of this larger narrative about where we are as a country and the divisions and, you know, the kinds of ways we treat each other. This is an atheist group that's planning more billboards. I don't know what they're going to look like, but they are definitely they are very upset about this being the year of the Bible. Where do you put this sort of in the general conversation about where we are as a country?
Well, I think that's a great point that you raised, Chris. We are so divided as a country, and unfortunately in politics today, and I've been involved in it, as you know, as a former aide to a U.S. president, as somebody who talks about politics on TV. Politics is so often driven by negatives, by finding what it is that divides us, by highlighting the bad things about the other person running for office. And that's a sad, sad reality. We don't celebrate often enough the things that draw us together. We don't often enough call people to look to the greater good, or to even follow their better angels. And I think we should. I think that if people running for office did that, we certainly would have a process that was less divisive than the one that we see now.
Joe Watkins, it's always good to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Chris.
It's called Pink Slime.